So these are the basic concepts of inflation. Then we'll discuss the types of inflation we have. So as per different criterias, we have different types of inflation. So first, on the basis of rate of price rise, the rate at which the inflation has increased. So first one we have is creeping, also known as mild inflation. It is up to 3%. Then second one we have is trotting, so known as, this is 3 to 10%. Medium. Then we have is galloping inflation, also known as high. It is more than 10, up to usually 100. Then the fourth one that we have is runaway inflation or hyperinflation, that is in more than hundreds, maybe in thousands, maybe in lakhs, so too high. So this is the classification, one classification of inflation on the basis of rate of price rise. The next is on the basis of government control. Next classification of inflation. So on the basis of government control, we can have two types of inflation. Suppressed inflation, and second one is open inflation. Suppressed inflation is, suppose there is very high demand in the economy, but due to involvement of the government, due to intervention of the government, that demand is not in the market. For example, if tomorrow the government decides nobody can sell onion for more than 20 rupees per kg, this is known as ceiling. The ceiling price, government fixed the ceiling price, that above this much, above 20 rupees, nobody can sell onion in India. And in case of open inflation, no such intervention of the government. So in case of suppressed inflation, it is a potential inflation. When that suppression will go away, at that time there will be very high inflation in the economy. But such suppressed inflation is not much possible in democratic countries like India. But suppressed inflation and all is possible in countries like China and all. But in case of democratic countries, suppressed inflation is not possible. Then on the basis of volatility. So on the basis of volatility, we can have core inflation and we can have headline inflation. The thing is, how inflation is being measured. The inflation is, suppose these are the amount of, this is the number of commodities that we consume, and the number of commodities is 1 lakh. So how to measure inflation? Suppose this is January 2015 and next month is January, next year is January 2016 or Feb 2015. What you have to do is, out of this 1 lakh commodities, we don't consume all the commodities at the same frequency. Suppose I am consuming this pen very often, but you don't consume this pen. So for you, the expenditure done on this pen will be very less, maybe in the period of 1 month or in 1 year. Suppose I consume this duster, I consume this mobile, this wallet, this watch and all this thing. So first of all, you have to prioritize this list. It means out of 1 lakh commodities, you have to come up with a figure that I consume only these 676 items. This is the priority list. So top 676 items, 700, 500, whatever that figure is. In case of WPI, it is 676. So you have prioritized this thing, and you know the price of these 676 items in January 2015. Similarly, the same commodities, the price of the same commodities in January 2016 also you know. So in case of January 2016, whatever will be the price of these commodities and the difference between the prices is known as inflation. But these 676 commodities, they includes food, they includes fuel, power, clothing, bedding, manufactured items, electricity. It consumes a number of things. But in case of fuel, for example, suppose tomorrow there is a war between Saudi Arabia and Iran. So in that case, the crude oil prices is going to increase, and 80% of our dependency on fuel we import. Whatever we consume, the total amount of fuel that we consume, 80% of our need is fulfilled by import. So in that case, although there is no problem in case of India, the crude prices in India is same, but the value of the imported commodity has increased. So the value of the crude oil is highly volatile. Similarly, suppose there is no monsoon. For example, in 2010 the monsoon was not good. In 1960s the monsoon was not good. So during all these years the prices increase or decrease drastically within the time span of 1 year. If you remove these volatile items means if you remove this fuel and you remove this food from this group, it means out of the 676 items, maybe some 120 items are related to this. So if you will remove these items and then you will compare the prices and the difference, the inflation figure that you get, that is known as core inflation. So core inflation is nothing but the type of inflation in which you have removed the commodities whose prices are highly volatile. So that is known as core inflation. And headline inflation means total commodities, total 676 items you are comparing, that is known as headline inflation. So in India we have both, measure headline inflation as well as we measure core inflation. Next what we have is, on the basis of the causes, what is causing inflation. So on that basis we have two things. First one is demand inflation. As the name suggests, demand inflation or demand pull inflation, as the name suggests, this type of inflation is due to increase in demand. So suppose this is the graph. Here we have quantity demanded and here we have price. So the graph will be like this. When the price increase, the demand is going to decrease. So suppose at this price P, this is the demand D. Whenever the demand is going to increase, there will be rightward shift in this. So this will be new demand curve, and suppose this is new demand, this is D and this is D dash. So this price P dash has increased, and when P dash has increased, price has increased, it means there is inflation in the economy. So demand pull inflation is caused due to increase in demand. So this is known as demand pull inflation. Now demand pull inflation is caused by multiple factors. You can expect one question from these factors, either the factors of demand pull or the factors of cost push. So the first factor which causes demand pull inflation is money supply. So when money supply increases, inflation will be there in the economy. So one of the reason of inflation is increase in money supply, we already discussed. Second one is forex. So the reason forex, increased forex is the reason or decreased forex is the reason? We already discussed that if suppose this is the economy, RBI is there, new money comes in the form of forex, in the terms of dollar. So when new dollar will come, the value of the amount of rupee will increase, and when this will increase, it may leads to inflation. So increase in forex is the second cause. The third cause is deficit financing of the government. Deficit financing. We already discussed in the definitions what is deficit financing. Deficit financing means if the expenditure of the government is more and the receipt of the government is less. Expenditure more, receipt less. So you have to finance your deficit. So to finance your deficits, two options, either to print new currency or to borrow. But in both these cases, the government expenditure will increase. So deficit financing is also one of the reason of demand pull inflation. Then we have income of households, income of firms. When income increases, so their purchasing power increases, and when purchasing power will increase, then the demand of the commodities is going to increase. So increase in income is also one of the reasons of demand pull inflation. Then next reason is tax. Tax means direct tax. So increase in direct tax is the reason, or decrease in direct tax is the reason? So it is decrease in direct tax. So when tax will be decreased, money available with you, it means that is known as disposable income. Disposable income will increase, and when disposable income will increase, your expenditure will increase, and when expenditure will increase, demand of the commodities is going to increase. Then we have the export. Export increases is the reason. Suppose this is Indian economy and you are exporting 5 pen and there is a demand of 50 pen in India. Suppose you have increased the export from 5 to 15, so it means the pen available in India will decrease to 40. So the demand of pen will increase. So increase in net export is also one of the reason of demand pull. And the last and the foremost reason is population. Increase in population is also one of the reason. I want to give you a homework related to this population. Just write down or just try to think about the three social, three economic problems of India. Three social and three economic problems of, and three political problems also. Three social, three political and three economic problems of India. So these are the causes of demand pull inflation. First one is the money supply. So when the money supply increases, it is going to increase the inflation in the economy. The second one is forex. So when forex increases, equivalent rupee in India is going to increase, money supply is going to increase, which is going to be cause some inflation in the economy. The next one we have is deficit financing. So when deficit financing will be there, so the government expenditure is going to increase, that is going to increase the money supply of the society, going to cause the inflation. Then we have income, the income of households, income of firms. So money available with them increases, their purchasing power increases and demand increases, going to cause the inflation. Then we have the taxes, direct taxes. So when direct taxes will decrease, in that case the disposable income with the households will increase. Suppose your income is 100 rupees. Out of this 100 rupees, your tax liability is 10 rupees. It means your disposable income is 90 rupees. But suppose this becomes 2 rupees. The tax becomes 2 rupees. So now your disposable income becomes 98 rupees, which is going to increase the money supply in the economy and which is going to increase the demand in the economy. And the last two factors are, we have export. If the export increases, so the availability of the commodities in India is going to decrease, and that is going to increase demand of that particular commodities. And then last we have the population. So increase in population is one of the major reason. Then we have the cost push inflation. The cost push means the cost of production has increased, and the cost of production has increased, it decreased the supply. So cost push inflation is caused due to decrease in supply, and this decrease in supply is due to increase in cost of production, the price at which you are producing these items. And in this case the graph will be like, suppose this is quantity supply. This graph will discuss in microeconomics, and this is price So this will be the graph at this price, this is the supply. So this is S, this is price P. But suppose the supply decreases and the new supply is suppose this one. So at this price, at supply S dash, when supply has decreased, this is the supply, when supply has decreased, the prices has increased. Such type of inflation is known as cost push inflation. Then cost push inflation is caused by which all factors? So cost push inflation is caused by multiple factors. One factor is cost of production. So when cost of production increases, it leads to inflation. Then decrease in the output. Suppose one company, earlier the company was producing 50 kg of rice and now this company has decreased their production to only 30 kg of rice. The miller has done I think most of us know that what we produce in the fields is known as paddy, and after this paddy, the refinement of this paddy by the millers, rice is being produced. So suppose all the millings of India, earlier they were producing 50 kg of rice and now they are producing only 30 kg of rice. So decrease in output also is going to decrease the supply, and decrease in supply is going to cause inflation in the economy. The next reason is hoarding and speculation. So in case of India, hoarding is legal as well as illegal. For few commodities it is illegal and for few commodities it is legal. Whatever comes under APMC, essential commodities, whatever comes under essential commodities, for example these medicines and all these things, life saving drugs, and sometimes the states they put onion also into essential commodities. If something is mentioned in essential commodities, then the hoarding of these items is illegal. But suppose you have potato, suppose you have wheat, suppose you have rice. So FCI is storing 60 million metric ton, 70 million metric ton of wheat and rice. So it's a kind of hoarding only. But unless wheat and rice is mentioned under Essential Commodities Act or Essential Commodities List mentioned in Essential Commodities Act, hoarding of all those commodities you can do. So hoarding and speculation is also one of the reason. Then we have indirect taxes. If the indirect taxes has increased, indirect taxes is nothing but taxes like we have excise or you have custom. Excise means whatever thing you are producing, whatever goods you are producing. Suppose you are producing this pen. To produce this pen, you have to give some tax. Whoever is producing, the producer has to give some tax to the government of India or central government. That tax is known as excise duty. And whenever you are importing these items from outside India, in that case you have to pay some tax, that is known as custom duty. We have a full chapter on this taxation. So custom is being levied whenever you are importing the commodities from outside India, and excise is being levied only on the goods which you are producing in within India. So if indirect taxes has increased, suppose you are making this pen and the price, the raw material price, the value of this raw material was 20 rupees. Now excise duty was there and some other taxes. So excise duty suppose was 10 rupees and the market price was 30 rupees. But suppose the government increase this indirect tax to 20 rupees. So that is going to increase the market price to 40 rupees in comparison to 30 rupees. So when indirect taxes will increase, cost of production is going to increase, and that is going to cause some inflation in the economy. Then we have the import. Suppose we are importing few commodities, and if the price of imported commodities has increased, suppose earlier you were able to import this pen in 30 rupees and now you have to shell out 40 rupees. So that may also cause the inflation in the economy. So these are the causes of cost push as well as the demand pull inflation.